Back in April of 2023, I had a partial hysterectomy and it changed my life. I don't have any more fibroid pains. I don't have any more heavy periods or periods at all, actually. And I just feel free. I feel free from all of that. And while the recovery did humble me, because that was a lot, I think my situation might have been a little bit unique. And there are things that happened that no one warned me about, and that's why I want to tell you, my audience. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is going to be very much a bit of TMI in this video, so I apologize beforehand. Guys, if you're not interested, you can scroll off. But if you have women in your life, this might be something you're interested in. This kind of knowledge is useful if you're married or in a relationship with a woman. These things may come up, especially a black woman. This is primarily a black woman problem, but the hysterectomy itself is not. The cause is, but the hysterectomy is not. So just keep listening. What made me want to have the procedure is that, I don't know, in my mid-30s, I started having really heavy periods. They got heavier and heavier as time went on. Now, I also had pain in my uterus at all times, whether I was having period or not. It just seemed to be consistent. Now, the pain wasn't severe. I have found out I have a pretty high tolerance for pain, but it was there and it was constant. I always had some form of pain that I was dealing with. I lived on naproxen, and I just was never, almost never free of having some form of pain in my abdomen. Now, I knew through having an ultrasound that I had some fibroids that were growing, and I knew eventually I would have to have surgery on them, but I also knew that they would eventually come back. So the decision was made around my 45th birthday. I wanted to have them removed or have a hysterectomy. Now, at this time, I had already had my tubes tied, so I was not having any more kids anyway, and I'm already 10 years in of having this discomfort and pain, and it getting, as far as the heavy bleeding is concerned, worse and worse and worse. My doctor at the time, I had been mentioning it to her a few times. I'm like, I'm not having any more kids, whatever. She, even though she was a black woman, did not seem to want to do the hysterectomy. She wanted to do all of these other things. She didn't really want to do surgery. And while I understand that she wanted to limit my risk, I knew that there was the fibroids weren't going to go away. I was in pain. I was bleeding heavy. It was ridiculous, and I just needed the procedure done. Well, what happened was my insurance changed and my doctor no longer took my insurance. So I wound up having to find another doctor. So why would you choose to have a hysterectomy over fibroidectomy, or fibrectomy, whatever it's called? The main reason is fibroids can come back. Fibroids do grow back. They are something that's consistently growing, consistently producing. You get rid of one big one, a new one that's smaller, has more room, will grow bigger, and it's just a complete cycle. That's why a hysterectomy is often the better choice. Other reasons, obviously, like I stated before, no more periods, no more pain. You're free to move around without worrying about wearing white. I don't have to plan my vacations around my period or plan intimacy around it. I can do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. Nice. I'm also, you save money. If you counted up how much money a woman spends on feminine products, it can be a lot. At the end, the last 3 years, things got worse for me. I was using period panties, pads, and tampons all at the same time. And I would have to change those every 1 to 2 hours. That's how heavy my flow was like the first 2 to 3 days. of my period, especially the first 2 days. It was crazy. It was gross. It was too much. It was too much. And I was going through products like running water. It was too much. So saving that money is also a great thing. So that's why you would choose a hysterectomy over a removal of the fibroids, especially if you have most people have multiple fibroids. They don't just have one. Our body produces them, and um, and that's just that. So I do not want to have surgery every 3 years. I'm not using my uterus. I was not having any more kids, and so all of it made sense. So going back to my story, at 45, I had to find a new doctor. I did go for a couple years without even having a doctor because of insurance issues and things like that, and I just didn't focus on it. I had a lot of other things going on. At 48, which was in 2026, I did decide that this was enough. I found a new doctor that took my insurance, and during early in the morning before work one day, I went and saw this young woman. This is a young woman probably in her very early 30s, who was an OB, black woman as well. We had a brief conversation about my symptoms, what I was going through, and she came up and asked me, hey, so, do you want to have a hysterectomy since you said you're not having any more kids? I was like, yes, I've been begging for it for years. She goes, okay, no problem. Let's do some tests. Let's get an ultrasound. Let's see what's going on in there, and we will work it out. So I had an ultrasound. I had blood work. The results of the ultrasound had shown that my fibroid had grown exponentially. And she said, yeah, you are a prime candidate for a hysterectomy. So she's like, you had your tubes tied, so we know you're not having any more kids. I don't see an issue with us not planning it. I was like, all right, great. So when are we going to do this? She's like, yeah, we can do it in 6 weeks. Gay? We can do it like that easy? She's like, yeah, it's not a problem. She's like, and I was like, well, my other doctor didn't want to do it. She's like, yeah, old school people don't really like to do hysterectomy because it is a permanent situation. Unlike your tubes being tied, if you wanted to have kids, hysterectomy removes all of that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but obviously, yeah, no, you're 48, you're not doing it anymore. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. So she's like, yeah, no problem, we can do it. No fight back, no, let's see if we can have other options. She actually recommended it because she knew where I was in life. And so at that point, we scheduled the hysterectomy. This would have been back in early March, or around I think it was before my birthday. So I guess my birthday present to myself, although belated, that year was having my uterus removed. And so that's where the process started. So the rest of this video is going to be me giving you tips, prep for surgery, and recovery tips. I have written them down, so please excuse me for if I'm reading, but I really want to make sure I include everything because this part is very, very important. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is make sure you have a proper recovery space. If you have a multi-floor apartment or house, you're going to want to focus your energies on staying in the area that you don't have to go up the steps if you don't have to. If you have a bedroom on the ground floor and a bathroom on the ground floor and a kitchen on the ground floor, I would focus my energy on staying in that space, even if you have it upstairs. If it's all on a different floor, if you're split level where your bedroom is on one floor and your bathroom is on a different floor, is there a couch on that floor you can sleep on so you don't have to go up and down the stairs to go to the bedroom? I'm gonna tell you, stairs were not great because it's deals with your core, and I'm gonna get into that further. But make sure you have a space that you can recover in. My recovery, I did it at a friend's house. Unfortunately, his house, the bathroom was up the stairs. in the second level with the bedroom, but the kitchen and exit were downstairs. So I did sleep in the downstairs because it was cooler. I had more space. I didn't have to share the bed or anything. But I did have to go upstairs for the to the bathroom. So that was an issue. Could I have stayed upstairs? Yeah, maybe. But since he was working from home, it was not ideal for me to just sit in that space. So I stayed downstairs, had my own TV, access to the kitchen. It was good. So that's where I focused on. I tried to limit my drinking so I wouldn't have to go up and down the stairs all the time. But that's what the things you have to think of, because you remember your abdomen is going to be cut open. You're going to have, my stitch is about, let's see, it's about this big across my abdomen. That's my stitches. And so you're going to have to understand that they're cutting you open from side to side. It's not going to be fun, and you're going to have some challenges moving your abdomen, anything involved in your abdomen, your core. So you want to prep your space to make sure that you're doing as little movement as possible, especially in the first couple of weeks. The next thing you want to do is practice getting up out of chairs, out of bed, out of whatever, off the toilet without using your core, without using your abdomen. And that means you're going to have to use your arm for support. Again, this is only to alleviate the use of your abdomen and give it more time to heal. So getting out of any seated position or laying position with your arms is going to be key. So make sure you think about that when you plan whatever space you're going to recover in. Now, this is something no one even thought of saying. Had I known this was going to be an issue, I would have decided to do my surgery in winter rather than any other time of the year. If you have seasonal allergies, this is not going to be a fun recovery because you will be sneezing, you will be coughing, and all of those take place in your abdomen. This happened to me since I had my surgery the end of April. My seasonal allergies, even though they're not that bad in the spring, were bad enough that I was tormented by sneezing and coughing. This was not fun. So if you have seasonal allergies, I would strongly recommend, just to make things easier, waiting till the period where you don't have your allergies, most likely in the winter time. So probably between November and February would probably be the best times for that. But if you have spring allergies and not fall allergies, you can do it in the fall. I have allergies, mild allergies in the spring and the summer. My heaviest allergies are in the fall. But wintertime would have been a great time to do this. The coughing and the sneezing specifically really hurt. It really hurt. So you're going to want to make sure you are healthy, you don't have any colds. Try to avoid getting a cold before surgery. You're going to want to try to deal with if you have allergies, if you go to an allergist and let them know, hey, I'm having this surgery. I know sneezing and coughing is not going to be good for me. Are there any meds you can give me that would alleviate that? That's not over the counter. Claritin and things like that did not work well for me. They never do. So, yeah, maybe an allergist can help you with that. But that's something you're going to have to think about. A cold or allergies, sneezing and coughing, not it. Not it at all. It's going to be painful. It's going to be painful. Sorry. Another tip is you're going to have to consider your body movements and purchase some physical support garments. Because please remember, they're cutting this open. My stitches are here. And this is part of your abdominal muscle, and it supports your core. Your core is all here. When you cut open one side, it makes everything weaker. You're going to need support for walking, moving around, climbing steps eventually. You're going to need that support for a few weeks. And they do have Some people use weightlifting belts, which can work fine. They're waist trainers. But you're gonna get a wrap that goes around your abdomen. You could use a very tight underwear type of shaper. You know, the ones that are like underwear, but they come all the way up to the abdomen. You could use those too, but you need to make sure that it's really tight. That you want the pressure up on your abdomen because it's gonna help you keep your posture and walk straighter, and it's just gonna provide support because your abdomen is just gonna be loose and achy, and it's gonna hurt for a few days. The pain is not tremendous, but it's gonna be uncomfortable. So having that abdominal support, make sure you have it before you even go to the hospital. And bring it with you so you have it when you leave. I got mine from the hospital, but I'm a big girl and it didn't fit quite right, so I had to buy a different one. But yeah, make sure you have that. Another tip I have is, this is very much if you're pre-planning this. If you have the time, take the time before your surgery to strengthen your core, actually. Your abdomen, your obliques, your abdominal muscles, which is in the front, your obliques, which are on the side, and your back. This a lumbar spine, even your thoracic spine, the lower back and the middle back. Try to do some exercises and to strengthen them because you're going to need them. It'll just, excuse me, I'm burping. Sorry. It'll make just recovery easier. If you're someone who likes to exercise, transition to that. I definitely think that would be important. You don't want it super tight. You don't want a tight like six pack. No. You don't want that. You just want to strengthen your body, your core, so that you're able to move better. It'll just make recovery better. That's all. It's not a necessity, but it's a good option if you can do so. Right before your surgery, like a couple days before your surgery, make sure you stock up on everything you will need. Food, medication, anything for your home that you would use regularly, stock up. The first 2 weeks, the first week for sure, you're not gonna probably wanna leave the house. It's gonna be very difficult to move. And so you will not be going to the store. You won't be doing any of that, okay? The second week, you're gonna wanna move around. They're gonna tell you to move around. In the first week, you're gonna move around in your house. The second week, with support, you can walk around outside of your home. But that first week, please plan on staying inside for the majority of the time. If you have a front porch you can sit on, that's great. A backyard, great, but plan on not going up and down any stairs. Plan on not taking trips to Target. None of that's happening. You're gonna sit home for the first week. The second week, go out. If you have support, a support person, that'll be great. Gentle walking, because they want you to move around. They want you to exercise your body and get back to normal routines, but it's going to be very gentle. It's going to be very slow. Just know that offhand, okay? So make sure you stock up on everything. Toilet paper, paper towels, toothpaste, toothbrush, food, beverages, everything you're going to need for like the first 2 to 3 weeks, okay? The last thing I'm going to tell you is get help. Have someone who either lives with you, which would be great, or to check on you every single day if you live alone. If you can stay with somebody, I would strongly recommend that, because just like I said, moving can be really challenging. If I was alone during that time, especially that first week, it would not have been good. I would have been struggling. My apartment is all contained, but actually I wasn't even living here when I had that surgery. Was I? I don't know where I was living. 2023. Oh no, 2023 I was living in Canarsie. Oh, that would have been terrible because I hated that apartment. And I had, 3 roommates? I had 3 roommates. So yeah, that wouldn't have been good. But at least I wouldn't have been alone. But anyway, yeah, make sure that you have a support person who either you can stay with, who can stay with you, or at least someone who can check on you every day to make sure you have what you need to maybe help you would get food or whatever have you. You always want someone to be able to check on, someone you can call if you, let's say you fall down, God forbid, someone to come help you with that. Just have somebody there. That first week is going to be very key. Okay, so the morning of surgery, it's going to be morning. Going to have the surgery pretty early in the morning. I think I was there about 7 something. My surgery was was scheduled at 9, so I had to be there like 7:30. I got there. You have to fill out some minor paperwork, nothing major. You're not going to go alone. You're going to have your support person, whoever's going to be there to support you during that time. They're going to come with you because they're going to come with you because they're going to be there. Can you do it without a support? Can you go without a support person? Yes. Going to the hospital without a support person is not an issue, but going home, you're going to need a support person, but we're not there yet. So the day of the surgery, you go in, you fill out some paperwork, they make you change into, obviously, this you take everything off, you're nude under your hospital gown. They take your blood pressure, and just your temperature, things, basic stuff. You've already had your blood work done, so they know exactly what they're going in for. They know where your fibroid is because you did the ultrasound. They know what they're doing. They'll ask you if you have any questions. You can ask all the questions you like. I didn't ask any questions because I didn't know what to ask. But it was fine. My doctor was good. They wheel you eventually. They walk you into the surgical room. And I had my surgery at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in, no, I didn't. No. I had my surgery at Mount Sinai Hospital near Columbus Circle, not too far from Columbus Circle in New York City. So I had it there. They walk you into the hospital, the surgical room, and you have the main doctor plus a bunch of nurses around. I think there was, from when I remember, there was 1, 2, 3 people, possibly, I think 3 plus the anesthesiologist. So there's 4 people in, if I remember correctly. And they lay you down, and you're going to go through the anesthesia, and that's always fun trying to fight it. I've had anesthesia before for some very minor, like for my tubal ligation and a couple other minor things. And they ask you if you have anything to say, any questions again or anything. And I'm like, nope, I have my daughter was at the time 16. I said, I have a 16-year-old to go home to, just make sure I get there. And that's it. And that's all I had to say. And so, of course, they put the mask on for the anesthesia. And you are like me. We always fight it. We're like, no, this is not working. Everything fades to black, and then you wake up. Okay, so we're back in the chair because I want to talk about recovery. And this is important, so I got you guys all to pay attention, take notes, whatever. When you wake up from surgery, you're going to be groggy. Depending on the anesthesia and how soon you wake up, you will be more groggy. You might be more groggy than others. This time, I've had anesthesia before. I've had no issue. I usually wake up pretty quick. This time, I think because it was a full major surgery, I guess they used a stronger anesthesia, or maybe I woke up earlier, but I woke up and I could not stay awake. So for me, this time having anesthesia, I didn't just fade to light and just wake up and be happy. I was, for like the first hour, I just could not wake up. I was awake, but I couldn't wake up, if that makes sense. I was laying in the bed and I was struggling to keep my eyes open. I was struggling to just be awake. And the thing is, here's the thing. I didn't have to do all that. I could have just went back to sleep. If you wake up and you're super groggy and you can't maintain... Got it. If you can't maintain being awake, just go back to sleep. I don't know why I made it tough for myself. I could have just gone back to sleep. But I I didn't. I just fought it for the first hour or so. Don't do that. Just go back to sleep. Let it wear off, the anesthesia wear off more. And then just wake up when it's time. I woke up too early, I think. So yeah, don't do that. Just relax. You're in the hospital. When you wake up, you're going to be like, where am I? And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm in the hospital. Oh, I remember why. All right, cool. Once you get that sound, like you know where you are, you know why you're there, just go back to sleep. Don't struggle. It doesn't make sense. The nurse is going to come and talk to you when you are awake. They're going to talk to you, make sure you can speak and everything. And they're going to come in. They're going to be doing lots of blood work and all these things. Just let them do what they're doing. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect you. Before you went into surgery, I didn't mention it before. Before you went into surgery, they put an IV in an IV line in your system. That's how you get all the meds. On mine, they put mine in this one. No, in that surgery, I've had a lot of IVs. They put in the arm, elbow. I've had it in my hand. Absolutely fucking hate the hand. I'd rather have them put in the inside elbow. But yeah, so they're gonna come when you wake up. They're gonna be doing all these things. They're gonna be talking to you. You know, nothing. Let them do their thing. Don't worry about what they're doing. But the one thing I want you to talk about and mention to them is the surgical tape. Now, guys, they put surgical tape on my stitches. It goes off. They do the stitching and then they put surgical tape over it to protect the stitches, keep the stitches in place. Only for when you're like there at the hospital. They took them out before you leave. Here's something I'm going to tell you. The surgical tape can be your worst enemy. Why? Because that surgical tape is surgical tape. It's not any other tape on this planet. It is strong. The skin in your abdomen can be very thin. So before I left, they took the surgical tape off, ripped my skin right off. Even now, I'm like, oh, it hurt at the time. But at the time, pain does not matter because the pain, it adds to the recovery. Guys, it's not even the pain. It was the itching. Because if you know anything about cuts, they itch as they heal. So not only do I have stitches that were that were numb. I'll get into that in a second. But I now have the whole line is now super itchy while I'm recovering. And I want to scratch it so bad because they ripped the skin off. Listen. When they do that, ask them if they can wet it first or do something to prevent the skin coming off, because you've heard my story, about the skin coming off and it makes recovery worse. Make sure they address that. Maybe they need to take it off slower. I don't know if they can wet it. I don't know. I don't think they can wet it with this. I'm not sure. But make sure you address that before they do it, because you don't want your skin coming off, because it makes the recovery so much worse. Like 3 to 4 weeks of just being worse. I'm going to tell you some things now that are specific to someone like me. If you're a bigger girl, pay attention. Okay? Pay attention to this part specifically. As a bigger girl, I have a stomach. My stomach has overlapped at times. It still does a little bit now, not as much as before, but it does. Having a stomach that is bigger makes the recovery harder. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know that now. It makes the stomach that hangs over makes moving harder because the stitches are gonna be right under where it hangs over. Okay. Getting up and positioning yourself is gonna be difficult, which is another reason why you need to get that abdominal support, whatever you're gonna use, be it a weight belt, a waist trainer, whatever you're gonna put around your abs. This is going to be important specifically for bigger girls. So you're going to need that because you're going to be lifting up the stomach, wrapping it around you to keep the stitches in place, keep your abdominal muscles strong. You're going to need that. So if you're a bigger girl, I'm sorry, but it's going to be a little harder. If at possible, let's say right now it's July. If at possible, you want to have the surgery later this year, you're going to plan to have it winter because allergies or anything like that. If you're going to have the surgery and you can put it off a few months, I strongly recommend, as a bigger girl trying to lose some weight. Again, it's not about how you look, it's about how you will feel. Recovery will be so much easier if you have a smaller stomach. It's not to get rid of your stomach. We don't expect flat abs. That's not the point. The point is to make it smaller and less hang so it'll be easier for you. Trust me, from someone who's a bigger person, that would have been a huge benefit. Again, the recovery is only 4 weeks or so, 6 weeks for the long end, but the first 4 weeks are going to be the hardest, and I'm telling you, you want to make it as easy as possible. So if you can lose some weight, work on your stomach, strengthen your abs, all of that's going to benefit you. My big girls, it's not to insult us. It's not to shame us. It's just to help you make decisions that's going to make this an easier process for you. And in the end, you're going to wind up healthier. Hello? It can't hurt you. It can't hurt you. Again, I had another challenge on top of being a big girl. I have herniated disc in my lower back. So all of this combined made my recovery a little harder. I mentioned the allergies and the sneezing and the coughing. When they cut open the front, remembering that I have 3 herniated discs in my lower back, L2 to 4 or something like that, my back was already weak. So by cutting open my front, I had very little ab support. And when I sneezed, not only did it hurt in the front, it hurt in the back because my abs, which supported my back, were now compromised and my back was weak and my herniated discs were just all over the place. There was nothing holding them together. So, yeah, I was in just a lot of pain. So if you have herniated discs, again, try not to have the surgery during your allergy season. It's just going to make it worse. And even if you don't have it during your allergy season, remember your abs are compromised, so your back needs to be strong. Again, I'm going to reiterate, please try to strengthen your lower back before you have this surgery. I strongly feel like this is a surgery meant for people who have strong cores. Not 6-packs, because that might come with its own challenges if your abs are too tight, but definitely less stomach fat, a strong lower back. This surgery was probably beautiful for you and you probably had no problems if you had all of those. But if you don't, you're going to have a little extra challenges. Now, let me tell you something. It just means it's going to be more uncomfortable. It's going to be a little harder. It's not the end of the world at all. Trust me, I would go through it again 10 times to have the freedom I have now. So I'm not talking you out of it. I'm just telling you what you need to know. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to mention is numbness. Now, the entire strip, about an inch above and an inch below the incision, was numb. That doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It's just numb. It's like when you touch the area, I couldn't feel it in my skin. I can feel it in my fingers, but I couldn't feel myself touching it. But you can still feel pain underneath the muscle. So the skin itself was numb, but underneath the muscle, you can still feel the pain. It's not a numbness that gets rid of pain. It's a numbness that just, the skin itself was numb. That lasted for about 10 to 11 months. It did not go away for a very long time. I was concerned it would forever be numb. Eventually, out of the blue, the numbness went away. That is normal. That is absolutely normal. Do not worry about it. It is absolutely normal. I didn't realize, I had to do research to realize, oh, that it'll come back eventually for the most part. For a large portion, for most women, it comes back. There are a couple of women who have said that they stayed numb, but the vast majority of women, the numbness goes away maybe up to a year. So that's fine. Do not worry about it. By the way, even if it stays numb, it's not going to affect your life. You're not going to think about it after a couple of months. You're just going to be like, oh, it's numb. You're not going to feel it. All right. So it's not going to affect you at all. So in the end, my full recovery was 6 weeks from me going back to work in the office. I did work after 4 weeks from home. Excuse me. Actually, no. I worked from home after the first 2 weeks. I was working remotely. So for 4 weeks, I worked remotely. And then 6 weeks, I went back to the office. The 3 things I want you to know is that your recovery depends on a lot of things. Body type and condition is a big factor. Healing can occur in different ways. There'll be weird tingling sensations in the incision area, numbing. Your pain is not really the worst part. It's the inability to move very well. Pain management is something you can work with your doctor. My pain wasn't terrible from the actual surgery, but all the other little things, my herniated disc, being an allergy season for me, that all made it worse. So, take those to heart and really think about planning this surgery out. Yeah, so the first week, you're probably not going to move too much. You're going to be in your house. You're going to have someone hopefully pampering you, taking care of you. The second week, you're going to move around more, maybe go outside, try to start using some stairs, but nothing major. By the end of the second week, you're going to feel a lot better. You're still going to have some aching in the abdomen area, but you'll be able to move a lot better. You can work from home if it requires you just sitting down in front of a computer. You can do that. So if you're someone worried about taking off the full 6 weeks, you don't have to. You can if you want to, but you don't have to, depending on your recovery. Making sure you're all set up prior to the surgery. Asking a lot of questions. I didn't really ask that many questions. Ask all the questions. Think about some of the things I said about the surgical tape, about the weight, whatever. If you have conditions like I did with my lower back, consider all of those things and talk to all of those things with your doctor, because they'll make suggestions as well. And so, think about all of those things. And I say that while still saying it was the best decision for my health that I have made. One of them anyway. So in the end, I just want to say that everyone's experience is different. My goal of this video was to share my experience and give you tips and tricks for people who are maybe bigger or have some other issues that are not freely shared. I had never heard these tips before. And multiple videos I've seen on YouTube, no one ever mentioned a lot of these things. So I want to give you my experience to let you know that these are things that can potentially happen, and to talk to your doctor about it so you have more knowledge. You'll be going into this procedure with a lot more information, and that will make you feel better. I felt great. I don't regret it at all, but yeah, I wish I had known some of these things prior to going into it. But that's all I've got for you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some answers to questions you were looking for, found use in it. If you did, leave your comments below. Share your experience in the comments. I would love to know. If any of these tips were surprising to you, also let me know. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.